Okay, so here we have it. On the right, we have the cross of the sleeping phoenix. You may or may not have seen this graphic before. It's a complicated graphic. Its keynotes are enormous. They're keynotes for everything in human design. They go from the infinitesimal, sort of infinitesimal anyway, like the base keynotes, although I wouldn't call those tiny because they open out into so much. But in terms of scale, those are the tiniest ones. And then you go through the subline structure and the lines, and the centers get bigger, and profile that maybe gets bigger, and then you're into transits, and planets are bigger, and those have bigger keynotes. And then finally, at the end of this whole progression, you get this enormous thing, keynotes for a whole cycle. What does that even mean, right? It's hard to get a grasp on. It's a whole different way of looking at things. It's a very broad perspective. So part of what we're going to do is just begin to break it down into smaller pieces and give you reference points for all the good reasons that you would want them. When you're looking at the right, which is the phoenix, what you are looking at, of course, is the Rave mandala wheel. And here's my first basic principle, which in some cases I will only be reminding you guys of, which is in human design, the body graph, which we'll get to, the triangle is about life force, right? And the wheel is essentially about the program and time. Not the same thing. Related, intrinsically related and inseparable for human beings at least, but they are not identical. Once we're in the wheel, we're out of life force, and we are almost always, unless we're looking at the Rave mandala in the middle, we're talking about programming. And the sleeping phoenix is a program, because any global cycle is a program. It's the influences that the planets are sending our way via neutrinos. And that's one of the important things I want to discuss right now is cycles. I'm going to discuss is cycles versus mutation, because the sleeping phoenix is a very mutative cycle, but guys, it's a program. It's conditioning, just the way the cross of planning is. So let's look at the left, which is the cross of planning. I simplified it way down for you. You may want to do this yourself. That's all it is. It's a circle with 4 numbers. Now, there's a analogy there to the Sphinx and the vessel, which we can't get into today because that's a lot. But what you're looking right there are the vessel-y sorts of gates, because they're the matrix that holds everything together. You know, the Sphinxy gates tend to be the middle degrees of fixed signs, so they're going to be on the cross. And what you're also looking at, if you're familiar with them, are the 4 quarters, which is why the gates are arrayed the way that they are. The 9 at the top in planning Sagittarius is mutation. And, you know, the 37 is in initiation. The 16 is in civilization, and the 40 is in duality. So that's why they are where they are. Not always, everyone is always familiar with these reference points. People have very different levels of design knowledge these days, which is totally understandable. So we are moving from the left, which is the cross of planning, which, as you can see, you know, your gates, and we'll get to the actual body graph soon, is a logical tribal cross. And we're going to the Phoenix, which is 3/4 individual with an extremely strong tribal influence, was the 59. In that cross, you never want to underestimate that 59. I watch people in Ibiza, in bars, strutting around the bars on the Phoenix. And what you really saw was that 59th gate, where they were getting their people together as they spoke to other people in bars and protecting them. So that is, the tribal influence is not to be underestimated. There is, of course, a subsidiary cross there, but we're not going to talk about that one right now because there's not time to do that today. So let's go to the next slide. Okay, so there you have them both together, okay? That's just a brief reference. where you can see them arrayed by quarter.